Reflectum Thomas.
It superimposes a beetle on the kelim. If it superimposes a beetle, it's superimposed, it's not a real beetle. The beetle we're talking about that is real beetle throughout the entire Metzius. Therefore, if the oil can affect a beetle in the kelim, that means that the kelim have a predisposed relationship to beetle. It is not being superimposed by the oil. And this is what the Rebbe is saying now. Second line from the top. However, the koyach, the capability in the kelim, so that in them, in the kelim, there should be a beetle. As a result of the oil, even though the beetle comes as a result of the oil, still the kelim have to have the capability of accepting this beetle. That's what we just now said. And even more than that, even more than the very simple statement that the kelim acquired a beetle to the oil, but more emphatically, this should accomplish. What should accomplish that the kelim should have a real beetle, and it that real beetle. That the beetle in the kelim should be in such a manner. A beetle that is permeating their entire being. That's a being. To the extent, that the kelim should unite with Ein Sof. This is what ultimately has to happen. Is everybody still here? I don't see anybody.
We're all here, and if you move your finger from the right side to the left side,
okay,
you see all the little tiles. You see everybody.
Okay, very good, very good. Hello, very good.
Hi there.
Hi.
And you got I can just tell you that oops, you got Shlomo Record, Shlomo Band, Daniel's here, Kiva's here.
Okay, as long as because my screen was blank, so I just want to know.
Yeah, so just swipe and see everybody.
So therefore, the Rebbe says, in order that the kelim should be able to receive the beetle, the effect of the oil, to the point that there should be a real beetle, not only a beetle that the kelim should be bottle, but more than that, more than just plain beetle. That the beetle should be in such a manner. Third line begins beetle a thought of beetle and beetle in their very essence, to the extent. Here's these words. I hope that we have. I'd like you to focus in. Now the kelim should not just be bottle. Beetle is not sufficient. The idea is not that the kelim should be dysfunctional. Rather, there's a profound intent in this. That the kelim should unite with Ein Sof. The kelim should recognize Ein Sof and should be reflective of the Ein Sof. How can kelim, which are worldly creatures, presences, how can they unite with Ein Sof? Ein Sof means divine truth, which is super worldly. How can something worldly unite with something which is super worldly? Let me explain the difficulty, anomaly. worldly versus superworldly. Worldly means, by definition, worldly means that it has a definitive beginning. What is the principle? What is the aim in this creation? From the beginning, before it comes into being. As in our simple Mishonim, a table is not just a presence in the world. A table is preconceived and planned for a certain function. That's worldly. There is not a fundamental truth of presence of a table. And then it gets translated in certain circumstances. No, it is initially created with a certain plan and a certain purpose. This means a worldly entity. If you think into this a little further, you recognize that it means that a worldly entity means it does not have a self-standing value. Its value is only in the fact that it satisfies certain needs, certain functions. That's what means worldly. Then we go to Yishyavdus Be'erin Soibor. Then you unite with Eirin Soib. What is Eirin Soibor? Eirin Soib. And that's with Boruhu. Eirin Soib Boruhu means we're talking about the divine truth. Divine truth does not come from back door. Divine truth is a primary presence. Is a presence that does not need to be brought forth. It is a fundamental truth that to say that it's always there is also a misrepresentation. It cannot not be. It's a fundamental reality. And I'd like to take off a little bit over here and discuss this principle, the fundamental reality. We, thinking in worldly terms, have no idea what we're talking about. What do you mean fundamental reality? In world, as we said, world, everything has a beginning, has a plan. Why is it here, and what was the purpose of its coming for? There is no presence in world prior to it being created with an intention, with an intended purpose. However, here we have to, as we say, the expression is put on our thinking cap and focusing on something much more real than world. There is, please recognize, there is a truth. The reality of being is not the created being. Reality of being is a being that is always there, cannot not be there. The real divine truth is something which is not innovated at any time. On the contrary, the divine truth, this is the fundamental truth of being of everything. In worldly terms, this would be the not being. As the beginning of world, That is the divine truth is at that level. The real truth of existence is yes existence, not existence. The real truth before any creation, because the divine truth is yes, is always there, cannot not be. Not as it appears from our worldly perspective, that yes, existence is a novel thing. And if not for this, for the a concerted effort to make it, there would be nothing there. That's how the world is. But this is not the truth. The truth is that divine truth is a fundamental reality and cannot not be. This is something which we do not have the capacity to even conceptualize. Because the minute we start conceptualizing something, we start saying, okay, so what makes it? What does it stand on? What does it stand on? What does it stand on? This is something which has nothing to stand on. It doesn't need to be supported. It's a divine truth. Divine is not worldly. Anything worldly needs to be supported. Divine doesn't need to be supported. Now we say that the kelim or worldly objects ultimately can be purified and elevated to unite with the divine to the point where they also acquire that level of truth as it is in any self. And this is the question. How is that possible? So if I have you with me, I would like to open this up and to explain it in a broad manner.
Just for clarity, what are we opening up now?
We're opening up now a glimpse on divine truth, divine presence. Non-created presence, not worldly presence, but divine presence.
The question being, how do Kalim acquire divine truth?
Well, yeah, but ultimately. But before we do that, you have to understand what is divine truth. Again, we have, Baruch Hashem, in our own structure, the way the Rebbe made us, we have the moshel, so to speak, for the finest and the highest inyanim if we refine our thinking. So to expose us to this, I'm going to give you the following situation. You wake up in the morning. And you take a look. Oh, it's time to get up. And you reflect, perhaps, that I better get up now, because if I don't get up now, I'll be late for whatever I have a responsibility to be at. This reflection that I have a responsibility to be at certain thing, and that compels me to get up as I wake up. This is, in effect, a compelling element to get up, not because we want to get up, but because something external is demanding that I get up. I'm afraid of the consequences if I don't get up. Getting up itself is not enticing, looking at it from this way. It is that I want to avoid consequences. This is one way of looking at things in our lives. But then if we focus in a little bit, with a little bit finer looking glass, we realize that actually getting up is what we are about. It is not to forestall any kind of negative consequences. It's even more than we want to get up. This is where we are. This is the reality of our lives. Not getting up is not even a remote option. It's false. It's not real. This is, as I said, it's a kind of an expose of the truth of the world in general. Yes, the world is a creation, but it's a divine creation. There's a divine intent and divine will to create. There's a reality to it. It is not a consequence of some kind of a circumstance. And you said to avoid a certain consequences. Who creates the world? Hashem creates the world. And Hashem gives the world a divine significance. Which means that its existence, the significance and the value of its existence precede its coming into being. It's identified from a much higher sense of value than its coming to being. This is a loosing, this is the explanation to what we're saying here. That the Kelim can rise up to the point where the Mishachet be'erin soy baru. Erin soy, this is not even part of the world. The reality of world, the reality of Avodas Hashem reaches up to way beyond the worldly parameters. This is expressed in these words. Bikl be'etzem mahusam, the third line, sheyisyachdu be'erin soy baru. But they unite with the Erin Soy Baru. It is not something bringing forth, so to speak, the the capability of the Kalim. Talking about something much higher than world. And that is ultimately what world is about. To reveal and to recognize that the world itself is actually rooted in the inside world. The truth of life in the world is way beyond the worldly experience.
Just to see what was said there. The guy getting out of bed, not for the real reason, right? Not because of any dire consequence, but just because he's in a godly reality. That's a mashal for the way that the Keli is united with, nullified into the Ein Sof.
Yes.
And okay, good. It does seem like it. If the person had a real grasp of that, he would sort of like leave this world, though.
He would what?
He would leave. He would disappear from this world, like.
No. This is why I have to be very careful. No, not at all. There's a divine intent in the world. You don't have to leave the world.
Okay, good. So, right, there's a divine intent
to complement the world.
Oh, so it's not nullification of Kalim. It is more like the Kalim are not nullified. They are.
Read the words in the Bible. You don't have to find your own words. So you siachdu be'erin soibar.
That his yachdus. It's not that they're. It's not that they're nullified. They are just now. Unified, but they still exist. Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course. That's why they exist. They exist and they unified between the same.
Got it. Thanks.
So what you're saying about divine, because that you wanted to clarify that before going on to the business with Kalim. Divine means it's a must be. Whatever is divine is real, and if it's real, it means it's a must be. It's not. It could be or it could not be. It's a must be.
Yes, but I want to refine this a little bit more. Ultimately, we have to refine our thinking. Must be is also a worldly expression.
Well, you said before, it's yes. There's no. It's just yes.
Right. A yes that is not preceded by a no is not a yes in our term, in our worldly terminology.
Right. But that's what it means, divine.
Oh, okay. So once we get to this point and we start thinking to this, divine means not that it must be, it cannot not be and all that. Being is a false term. Being is a term borrowed from the world.
In other words, just using the term being implies that it's possible it should not be. Is that the point?
Yes. Possible, or at least it's countering not being, or whatever it is. Being is a world level, a worldly concept.
Okay, I understand what you're driving at, but any term you use, we could say the same thing. So if you use the word real has also an opposite. It's real.
No, the real does
it's
not
not
have an
real.
opposite.
It's imaginary.
No. Real is not an. Being is a world level expression. Real is not a world level expression.
So the
Okay.
only one of these terms, even though
Emes, the word emes.
Mhm.
The word emes is a divine level concept. It's not a world level concept. That's what
I'm just wondering how we got from, because you always use this expression, it cannot not be. It's a must be.
the
These are
only
your
reason.
expressions.
Very,
Why
very
are
good.
we
I
why
always
are we
use that
leaving them
expression.
behind? Why are
I
we leaving
always,
them behind?
okay, Baruch. I always use that expression because I have no other way of exposing us to this super worldly concept but through a worldly process. But now that we got together on this, I'm pointing out that this is not really the truth itself. This is just because of our own limits. That's why we use this terminology.
Okay, and the word real is better here. Could Rabbi say why real, how real is more accurate here and useful?
The reason that real strikes me as pointing to this more correctly is that the word real means self-explaining. It is not something that you can understand because of circumstantial situations. If not for this, such and such would be. Real is nothing to do with any surrounding, any external consequences.
So real refers to truth, to divine truth.
Right. That's why I use the word real. The truth is that we do not have in our a language, means of language to express divine truth, but we use it in contrast to our reality.
So in world, nothing is real.
That's right.
But now we're saying that Kalim, which is world, have the ability to rise up and unite with Ein Sof, which is real.
And the reason for that is
Bittel.
right, and that through Avodas Hashem in Kalim, in the world, we can bring the cognizance of the godly cognizance into the world. And here, let's explain why Dafke Kalim. Okay, now that we got to this point, perhaps we can really focus in. In every mitzvah, there is the kavanah of the mitzvah, and there's the action of the mitzvah. Now, we ask ourselves a question. Which is the truer part of the mitzvah? The kavanah of the mitzvah or the action of the mitzvah?
I feel it's like a trick question because we had the same thing with the luminary and the light, right? The same idea.
No, I don't hear what you said.
I'm saying I feel like it's a trick question because we have the same thing with the illuminary and the light. And Mechaira, do something without kavana is like a goof without neshama. So I would incline to say the kavana from the one hand. From the other hand, in the worldly parameter, or rather what we just explained about the keli, the actual mitzvah is the main thing. So it depends what way you're looking at it.
I would say that although with a mitzvah without kavana is like a goof without a neshama, but a kavana without a mitzvah is nothing at all.
Okay.
I like that.
Let us kind of put it together a little bit. And I'll approach it from slightly further out source. Where is the concept of kavana come from? And where is the concept of action come from?
You're really not letting us off easy today, Rebbe Paltiel.
No, we got into it, Baruch Hashem, so we have to try to identify what we're talking about.
We're supposed to answer that question?
You're supposed to think into that question. I don't know how to answer that question. The first thing is to think about, because the answer is bubbling. What does it mean? The question, does the question strike you as a question?
The question is what again?
Where does the kavana come from? And where does the action come from? What's the source of the kavana and the source of the action?
In the case of a mitzvah, I'd say the source of the action would be the divine command, and the source of the kavana would be the person's relating to it.
Okay, who is this? I can't see who is it.
That's Ron.
Ron.
Ron Hirschkopf.
Okay, that is really very well put. Kavana is how it lends itself to us in our mind. The action is the way it comes from my. There's no action without being commanded to act in a certain way. So although action seems to be of a lower level, but really it is a representative of a truth beyond the moral level of truth.
Bye-bye. I'm sorry, I'm confused. I didn't get it.
We are saying that action, a plain old action, what makes an action valid? The reason an action, a plain old action, without any kavanah, without any significance, just the action itself. What makes an action valid? The fact that the world itself is a valid presence. Then there is within the process of action, the process of the world, the process, there is the intent. Let me put it very simply. You walk in the street and you kick a rock and the rock flies off. So you made an action, you made the rock move. Then there's another situation where you kick a rock and you want the rock to go to this particular place. The initial kick in the rock without any aim is a world level action. When the kick is with an aim that it should reach into something, this is already has a kavanah, has an intent, a seichel aspect to it. The seichel aspect is present in the world only due to the significance that exists in the world. But the kick itself is present in the world because of the very simple presence of world. Physical presence. And what we are saying is that this simple presence of world is representative. It reminds us that there is a reality in world itself. There's a real creation. Is that now reaching you a little bit better? Reaching your lose?
Yes.
Okay.
Why would you think that there's not a reality in creation?
If you do not recognize a purpose in the creation, then the creation has no reality, period.
So about purpose sounds like kavanah.
That's a purpose is not kavanah. Purpose is, the principal purpose is that there is a creator. There's a creator.
And if there's a creator, doesn't that automatically mean that if the creator creates, there's a kavanah behind it?
Well, the creator creates it. It already represents a reality of a creator. Let me give you a very simple example. You always have to resort to example. You're a guest in my home. And there's a table, there's a chair standing there. Nonchalantly, the chair does not seem to be in the right place. In a particular place of use. It's standing there. Will you then take the chair and throw it out the window? Hello?
I missed the question.
No.
Could you restate the question about the chair out the window? It's sitting in the
You're
middle of the
coming to
floor.
my home,
Yes.
somebody's home. And you come in and there's a chair standing without any particular, no particular service location and format. The chair is just standing there.
No, I
You say,
would not.
"Oh."
I couldn't take the chair and throw it out the window because it's not my chair.
Why not? Why not?
It's not. It's your home. It's not my home. It's your chair. It's not my chair.
In other words, please translate this. If the chair is in the home, it already acquires the value of what? Of being of the home. Not a functional value. This is what's called reality.
And you're saying I don't have to know why you have the chair there. I don't
That's
have to
right.
know-
Not only you don't have to know why, perhaps there is not a why. Yet you will not throw it out. Its value is by virtue that it is in this home, period.
But in the nimshal, there's no such thing as perhaps there's not a why.
That is a very difficult question to answer, but it's not correct what you're saying. Let me
Okay.
explain. Let me explain. Let me explain. The Rebbe created the world. We have no conceptualization of why the Rebbe created the world. However, we recognize the virtue, the very virtue of the fact that this is Rebbe's creation. It stands, it has a presence way beyond any that we can explain, that would be something that we make. Why the Rebbe created it, we have no way to explain it. But this is the Rebbe's creation. Therefore, we stand in awe of it. There's a din in the Torah. It is called Baltashkis. Baltashkis. You must not destroy something that is whole, so to speak. You walk in the street and you see a tree. The tree is standing in no man's land. You go over and just break the tree up. It's called Baltashkis. And that's a prohibition in the Torah. Something that is whole, you have no idea what its service. It doesn't have to be a service. It's a whole, it's part of the structure, part of the wholeness of the world, and you must deal with it as such, with respect. It's part of the divine creation. There are billions of stars, literally. Can any of these stars be spared? Billions. We need so many to be stars. That the Rebbe brings forth, every star has a count, has a place. And there are numerous other things on our earth that we do not have a way to explain what they're there for. And yet, we will not just plain go destroy it. We are allowed to change things for some kind of a functional purpose. But destruction is not permitted. All right.
Time check.
This is the meaning, just this sentence. This is the meaning of a true, real presence. Okay, time check.
I want to comment something about the time check. We spent before 8 minutes answering questions. So maybe you can go a little further.
Well, on that note, just to be fair, there might be somebody who was holding back with a question. Let me see in the chat. No,
I didn't write it in the chat, but I have a question about this topic, kavana. It was agreed upon that kavana comes from the person. I was thinking, doesn't kavana come from the Torah? Any kavana a person has, isn't that prescribed by Hashem the same way that the mitzvahs are prescribed by Hashem?
The din is, if somebody fulfills the kavanah of a mitzvah, but it doesn't do the act of the mitzvah, he has not done a mitzvah.
That's true. At the same time, okay, maybe there's another word besides kavanah, like the instructions how to do the mitzvah. Like,
What is it? New what?
the instructions how to do the mitzvah, like how to put on tefillin, right?
What? Say again?
Like the instructions how to put on tefillin is not the actual putting on tefillin, but it's integral. It's mamish united, right? It's not physical though, but it's, yeah.
All right. Tell me what you're bothered by. Just to go debating for no purpose.
I'm trying to clarify like this non-tangible aspect. It seems like it's being downgraded. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It seems like it's being downgraded. So I'm wondering, are we downgrading it, or do we say that
downgrading what?
The kavanah or the instructions how to do the mitzvah? Like we're saying
Yes.
It's lower.
Yes. The mitzvah, the action of the mitzvah, that is what it's all about.
It's both coming from Hashem. That's what I have an issue with. We're saying it's coming from the person. It's coming from Hashem. I don't know how we said it's coming from a person. That's all. Not sure.
So if you think about it a little bit more, you'll see what that difference is.
Okay. The recent point about. Sorry.
You jumping in there?
What?
The recent point about every star has its place. He counts every star. This is the same as why a person gets out of bed. Namely, there's a real reality that's sort of immutable, and he acknowledges that. Was that what we were bringing out?
The acknowledges, finish it off. This is very important. The acknowledges what?
Well, he acknowledges that he's in a real world, he's within reality, and I guess we also said the only way that could happen is if he sort of acknowledges there's a creator, rather than he's just in a physical setting.
Yes. This is very true and very important, very significant in our lives.
Yeah, and this is a sort of very fundamental. It's almost seichel and nushi point. It's not a religious point per se. We are kind of saying this is a very, very key human attribute.
No, please understand. The human being resists that. Come on, let me do my own thing.
He resists. Oh. But he does. Okay, let me do my own thing.
Trust me, it's true. I'm just holding it.
Human being realizes that he is a divine creation and he has a divine mission on earth. And he follows through on that. He is found a very fine, deep sense in what human being is, much more than recognized on the surface.
Right, but that choice, let me do my own thing or let me follow through on what God would want, that seems almost secondary. The first iteration, the first point seems to be oh, look at this. I am within a reality that matters somehow. Whether I run riot or whether I be of service, the basic point seems like a very fundamental, like before what we'd call religion, sort of based within human neshama, no? Sechel nushi, no? No.
Seichel and Nushi, please if you reflect on it. If there is not significance in the world, then Seichel and Nushi will not give you significance in your own life.
Okay, good. But the guys are into, you know, jet skis and barbecues, and they're not necessarily let me do my own thing. They are sort of like, oh, this world is so real. Look at this. I can get onto the water. I can start a family. I can have barbecues. They sort of are at the same time acknowledging seemingly a very basic reality, and therefore all my recreation and running around has a lot of significance. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother in a way.
Shlomo Yennison is just trying to be the Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev of the Shir.
I don't know what. Listen, what you're saying, you have to add another notch to this. In this whole process of thought, what's at the center in this entire debate? Is it the reality or is it your personal experience, your personal being?
Right. I'm pointing out that all these sort of personal experiences seem to be founded upon, they seem to be based upon the reality concept, and that.
Well, that is a big question. That is a big question. This is something which we have to ask ourselves.
Because
if you are aggrandized, you're excited about your own accomplishment.
Yeah, then you're okay.
You're not really relating to the divine truth.
Yeah, but right. But again, the fact that you're excited about your accomplishment or about any of these sort of recreational activities is because they're within a context of reality.
Not necessarily.
You have.
Not necessarily.
It might be narcissistic.
What's the reality? What's this context of reality for somebody be able to run at a certain pace, outpace other people?
Well, I mean, they call it recreation, and I think for a reason. It's like he's.
Let me stop you for a second, if I may. Translate the word recreation.
Yeah, recreation. They're sort of getting into the creation.
No, recreation means creating a new reality.
Oh, so you're saying they're diverging from, I always thought of it as they're getting refreshed. That's why we call it a refreshing
Yeah, but it's a
recreational
recreation. Recreation is something that I have created.
Okay, I hear where you're going. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Listen, okay.
Not easy.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
So,
Bottom
so now I'm
line,
coming.
we are forced to focus and recognize the significance of our lives is as it is given to us by the Creator rather than that which we recognize from our own experience, recreation.
One more time. We need to do rather than what?
That which is given to us by a Creator rather than that which we recreate within our own context. I want to ask you a question. I'm going to give you a very simple challenge. You wake up in the morning after I've slept, and you watch Negavasa. And then you go and take a shower. A shower gives you a real wash down. Negavasa is a joke relative to a shower. Yet, Alpidin, taking a shower does not allow you to say a brach. Negavasa allows you to say a brach.
Yeah.
That interesting?
Yeah. Has to do with the difference between hygiene and purity.
Okay, that's a good way of putting it. The point is, you can see that there is a completely different dimension in the reality of our lives.
Okay, and we got into all of this by talking about the stars. Every star has its place. You cannot destroy anything wantonly.
Oh, no,
When you get up in the morning.
Let me correct that for just slightly. We got into it to recognize that there is a divine presence and input in everything that we encounter.
Yeah.
This is where the stars come in.
And right, and then we've been clarifying that this is not a just a sechel and nushi realization
Right.
that I'm in a real reality where things matter, but rather it is a sort of a divine acknowledgement of the divine.
Right. That is very important. That's exactly where the conversation started. That's exactly where the conversation brought us to the point here.
Right. It does. Okay, fine. It does sound like Elokus B'Pshitus.
David, let me see your son over there. He's
Look at that guy.
I didn't know I had so many students over here. Wow.
Growing crowd.
Yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
It does seem like Elokus B'Pshitus. And I think for a lot of us, it's Olam B'Pshitus, and then you sort of read into that, oh, it's a divine creation.
Right.
But your first acknowledgement is like, oh, I'm in a real world, and oh, it must have a creator.
Right. The good B'Pshitus is clearly a very difficult thing to achieve in our mentality, in our world. But we have to know one thing. Whether we personally achieve it is a big question that we need to evaluate. But the truth does not change. The truth is that Elokus is a B'Pshitus. Elokus is what allows the world to be.
Okay.
Okay?
I have a side question. Since we are talking about Kavana, when we're putting on Tefillim, Rashi, or Rabbeinu Tam, it's the same action. We'd like to know what's the difference in Kavana between the Tefillim, putting Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam.
Okay. I give up.
What?
I said I don't have a way to explain the difference.
Okay. All right.
Inside, somebody else. Inside the shear, and I need to think into this. Nothing. Never mind.
Okay.
Shira asked, if the guy wakes up and he has a real realization that he's in God's world, it might like take him out of the world. So then you clarified, Kalim, the Kalim are not, they're unified, but they're not nullified. And to me, that sounds like Olam Pshitus. Still in a context. And that world is first, and then you acknowledge, oh, look at all these Kalim, they really are nullified to a higher purpose.
Wow. Well, we just finished saying that human mind initially oilem b'pshitus, no question about it, knows everything from world. But then once he goes into it and he understands what this is about and where it's coming from and so forth and what the purpose is, he realizes the truth is that the Lakus is the beginning of everything. Lakus is what provides for the possibility of being a world. But that's much later, after that he has refined his mind. And even after he refined his mind to fully comprehend, to fully realize it and fully relate to it, is a big, big avodah.
And if he goes there, gets there, that's not like Nadav and Avihu leaving the scene. It's still in world with Kalim.
That's right. That's right, because he realizes that the divine presence in the world is translatable in terms of mitzvahs of action in the world. There is nothing more holy than tefillin. Tefillin contain kriyishma, and represent the Mesiras Nefesh. How do we fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin? We have leather boxes which we put on our head and our hand. We tie them down to our hand and we put it on our head. Physical. Which is how we perform mitzvahs, the highest mitzvahs. Tefillin. I'm sure you know that for tefillin, you have to have what's called a guf noki, you have to be clean. There's very big prerequisite to permit a person to put on tefillin.
Mm.
He becomes like the foundation for the tefillin itself. That's a very responsible thing. And yet, it's a physical box. And the physical mitzvah is that you attach it to your hand. And this is how you fulfill this mitzvah. And a person has a kavona of mitzvah as fully as he possibly can. He is not fulfilling the mitzvah of tefillin unless he has his boxes and puts them on.
Yeah.
Pretty good cycle. Particularly if the cycle brings to the correct conclusion, that means that shows that the cycle must have been well aimed.
Oh, Hashem.